Okay, it's now 7 p.m. and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome everyone to our February 8th Sherwood School Board meeting. Please rise me and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So our first order of business is to review the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Carries. Next up in our section, or is our section titled Spotlight On, and this evening we have Sarah McCusker here to present on youth and government. Sarah, the podium is all yours.
Hello. Okay, now it's on. Thank you. Board Chair Hawkins, Superintendent Lyon, Board of Directors, thank you so much for having us here tonight to share with you a little bit about youth and government, a program that I love and I'm so excited to share a little bit with you about. So Youth and Government is part of a statewide program through the Oregon YMCA. Oregon YMCA Youth and Government has existed for over 75 years. So it's a well-established program. Sherwood has had a club for just over 20 years. It was started in the early 2000s by our current co-advisor, Tim King, and then I joined him in 2007. And we together help lead this club at the high school, which is a mock legislature program. We're very proud of the fact that in the past few years, Sherwood has grown. And for several years running now, we have been the largest delegation in the state. And so we have a lot of fun when we get together with those other schools in Salem. Because it's mock legislature, what does that mean? It means the main job of our students leading up to the conference is to write a bill. They get to decide what is something they think should be a state law, either removing a law, amending a law, or coming up with something entirely new. They research it, they find their reasons, and they write up a piece of legislation. They work throughout the year on refining that piece and practicing learning about it. And we are led by our club officers. I have our two co-presidents with me here tonight, Emery and Caleb, and they lead their peers through that process. In February, they get to go down to Salem and get together with students from around the state and serve as either representatives or senators trying to get their bills passed through the houses and then passed on to the youth governor to either be signed or vetoed. You can see in these images, in normal years, we get to use the actual House and Senate chambers at the Capitol, which is a lot of fun. And the students get to have a lot of time to try to convince each other and debate with each other to share why their ideas would make good laws. One of the really neat things about Youth and Government is it's a very student-run program. So the students not only do the work of writing the bills, but they run the show. And so our students from Sherwood have been very successful in running for office. This year, we have a presiding officer. Caleb Chan is going to be the president of the Senate. The chief clerk of the House will be Janessa Rose. One of our sergeant at arms will be August Hartman. And we also have a committee chair, which is a really important process before we get to the House and the Senate, and that's Lydia McCoy. So we're really proud of our students for stepping up and running for statewide office to run the whole show. And it means that they'll get to have really a behind the scenes look at how everything works, and then also make sure the whole conference runs smoothly. We also have a candidate for youth governor. So youth governor is a very important position because In the end, it's their voice that decides if that bill is signed or vetoed. And Sherwood sophomore Kylie Johnson is a finalist for youth governor. So she'll be running against one other candidate at the February conference. And if she is successful, she would find out at the end of the conference and then serve throughout the year with the program and then serve as governor at next year's conference. So we're all rooting for Kylie, and she has a campaign going right now on Instagram, and we're excited for her to get to share her ideas with more students in February. She couldn't be here tonight because, shocker, she's a very busy and involved student, and she had another program happening tonight, but she's very excited and doing a great job. So we're really looking forward to our conference, which is happening in just a couple of weeks in Salem. And I have a few of our students here with me tonight, and they're just going to share briefly with you what their experience in youth and government has been.
Hi, I'm Lydia, a junior at Sherwood, and I'm a member of Youth and Gov and going to be committee chair this year. This year's my third year in YAG, and I've loved every minute in the club. My fellow club members and advisors have been so welcoming, and they make every Friday morning meeting definitely worth it. I joined YAG my freshman year when we were completely virtual, which was definitely a challenge, but the community and sense of belonging I felt the first year is the reason I came back to Youth and Gov. It has taught me how to improve my public speaking and giving me the tools necessary to be able to advocate for issues that are really important to me. Youth and Gov is teaching the younger generation of today democracy, which is vital, and it's giving the youth a voice. The skills I've learned in YAG are incredibly valuable to me and something that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caleb. My story of YAG started when I moved here from overseas last year, and YAG was taught me everything I needed to know to succeed in America. Like it gave me friends. It taught me how America works, how the government works, and public speaking skills, and most importantly, confidence. So yeah, like I've made a lot of friends and like improved my speaking skills and just ignited my passion in government and serving helping others. So yeah.
Hopefully this picks up okay. I've tried to prepare a fairly good speech. My name's Emery Boisvert. I'm a senior here at Sherwood, and I believe, surprisingly, I'm the longest standing member here in Sherwood's Youth and Government. I would be lying if I say that my brother Henry didn't drag me into the program 4 years ago. He was a former youth governor. He's probably in one of those pictures, I think the middle one up there, but he was my inspiration to join Youth and Government originally, and so I owe that all to him. Youth and Gov, as a student who is an athlete, an actor, involved in lots of extracurriculars, nothing quite expanded my horizons like Youth and Gov. It let me go past just Sherwood, got to see other schools, other districts, see that Oregon is more than just Sherwood. It has rural counties, it has urban counties, it's a lot more. And then also it allowed me last summer to go to North Carolina for the Conference on National Affairs with Caleb. We got to go to North Carolina with about 500 other students from all across the country. We got to, of course, debate politics, because that's what we do here in Youth and Gov, but also it was just an eye-opening experience to go see the world and really experience both politics, but also friendships that are outside of Sherwood, which I think is something that high school students don't often get a lot of, myself included. And so I think that Youth and Government for me has really just been an incredible family. It's been an eye-opening experience, both politically and socially. And I think I just owe it all to our advisors, my older brother, and the community that YAG has built over these 4 years that I've been in it, as well as the 78 years now that it's been running, which I think is a testament to why it's succeeded. It gives students the opportunity to be involved, to get their voices heard. I mean, it's made me a better public speaker. Hopefully that shows. But I just think that it's important for people to hear about Youth and Government, because yes, the ideas of the youth are important, and no, our voices aren't often heard, but this is a way that we can at least know that other people are having those same ideas as us, even if they might not get passed into legislation. Just knowing that there are students out there all over the state that want to have their voices heard, meet other people, and keep this world moving forward. That for me is what Youth and Gov is all about. Thank you.
So I just want to say to you, I think for those of you that may not be aware, youth in government actually has a real impact on the legislature itself. First of all, they are better debaters and much more researched than folks that are there full time. So just thank you for providing a lesson in decorum for folks that are there for real. Also, the legislation that they debate, often a number of those concepts move forward and get drafted into actual legislation, become actual law. I get to work every day with folks that are former youth and government people. And so I look forward to lobbying some of you someday. And just so thank you for doing that. Just a quick question. Where exactly are you guys going to be meeting? Are you actually going to be in the chambers this year?
Sadly, we don't get to use the chambers this year because of all of the seismic upgrades happening to the Capitol. But we are going to be at the Willamette University Law School. So we'll still be a fitting environment, and it'll still be a lot of fun to be on Willamette's campus and add some gravitas to the situation.
That's fantastic. I was going to say, if you are actually in the chamber, bring a coat. It's very cold. But good luck to all of you, and good luck to Kylie.
Thank you so much, everybody. That was great to hear from all of you, Emery, Caleb, and Lydia. And yes, Kylie, we will all be rooting for you. It's now time to move on to our report section of the evening. So I will let Dr. Lyons start us off.
All right, thank you. I'll be brief. Christine, do we have that slide from last night? So I attended the city council meeting last night. And let's see if there it is. Our mayor, Tim Rosner, gave our kid governor of Oregon, we've already got that locked up. We're going to lock up youth governor. And we are a force, but Leah was honored by the city council last night and recognized. And Tim did a great job. She's going all over Oregon. I talked to her parents afterwards, and I believe the next one for her is to speak at the Oregon School Boards Association, some big meeting they're having. So I don't know how Leah's attendance is going, but she is super busy and super engaged. And I thought it was great that the city council recognized her. The other thing I had the just distinct honor of doing today was speaking to the leadership classes at Sherwood High School, of which Paisley was a part of that class. And we have a really, really talented teacher there in Katie Rarick. And it was an hour spent listening to our students and listening to what they're experiencing this year, what the issues they still carry with them coming out of the pandemic. Our students are really, really great. They're confident, but they're under a lot of stress. There are a lot of stress from, we had a great conversation about the screen time and the paradox of, if you even want to get away from the screen time to work on your mental health and mindfulness and wellness, you feel like you've got this avalanche behind you of things that are building up. And so my takeaway was we're in great hands with this generation of students that are coming up. They're amazing in their worldview, and the things that they have insights on can help all of us. Really a great group of kids. And it was just such a pleasure to have a dialogue with some of Mr. Mitchell's students at the high school. Just super talented, top-notch kids. So that was really fun.
Thank you. Okay, Paisley?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Dr. Line for coming in today. Usually when we get presenters, it's adults speaking at us, but today it was more of like a conversation and less than a presentation. And I think that was a lot more enlightening and helpful for all of us. And then I just wanted to talk about Bowman pageant. We've already raised over $20,000, and the Bowman pageant is in a few weeks or a couple weeks. It's on February 25th. So tickets are sold online or at the door, and all of the money goes towards Kids Making Miracles, who help to fundraise for Dornbecker Children's Hospital. And another thing that we've been working on is we've been visiting other student councils in Oregon. Like Tualatin came to us a couple weeks ago. And then on Monday, we just went to see Oregon City Student Council. And it's just like a space for us to share ideas and like really connect as a whole state rather than just like connecting with other people in our district. And yeah, it's just a great opportunity to share ideas. So that is what we've been working on.
And Paisley, how much longer are the tickets on sale for, and where can people purchase them?
I think so. There's like a link on the Sherwood website, or it's on our Instagram. But then the tickets are also sold on the door. But I think they're online until the 21st.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to board reports, and we'll start with Harmony.
I just wanted to acknowledge Staff Appreciation Week this week. I hope that I've been seeing kind of like on Instagram and Facebook, all the little pictures of that your PACs have been putting together for staff. And so I hope that you guys have felt that love, that we all appreciate your work and hard effort every single day. And I hope that that was somehow encompassed into 1 week, but you see it every single day. Thank you so much.
I don't.
Just ditto on Staff Appreciation Week. We're just very grateful for all of your service and time and the many hours that go beyond the school day. And then I also just wanted to do a shout out to the high school theater team that put on Romeo and Juliet. That was quite a production. It was great fun going and watching some live theater, and students doing an amazing job of making Shakespeare come to life and be relevant. So just huge kudos to that team.
And a third on Staff Appreciation Week. You know, it's so fun hearing from the students and the different things that are going on around all of our schools. And I mean, look at how successful our students are and how enthusiastic they are about everything that they're doing. And I think, you know, well, I know that's a direct testament to how hard all of you guys work to encourage them and to educate them and to bring them up. And you know, I being in the board seat or being on the board, I've learned so much more about the everyday things that go on within our schools and really what goes into educating our students and inspiring them. And I never stop being in awe when my awe continues to grow, you know, every time. And I just am really grateful that we have the district that we do filled with the staff that we do. And so a big thank you to all of you. Director
Can I
Hawkins.
chime in for a few
Or
minutes?
Chair Hawkins, yes, my apologies.
I'm here. Well, first of all, I'm really happy Dr. Lyon was able to attend the city council meeting last night. I had really hoped to get to go to that. And because I was going to be traveling, I wasn't able to attend, but I'm so happy to hear that you were able to go there and support Leah. We are so proud of her. And it's kind of hard to go last, but I echo your guys' sentiment. I mean, it's a huge job to teach and take care of our schools. And I know I'm incredibly grateful for all of our staff. And this week I got to be in a couple buildings doing a few things and saw parents, at least at Hawksview, I saw parents walking around with carts full of personalized charcuterie boards and personalized drinks. And they were just so happy to be there gifting those things to all the staff. And I just thought it was really amazing to be in that community and see parents so happy, students so happy to bring their teachers notes and treats and gifts. And I hope that not just this week, but we always continue that sentiment with our entire staff that works hard all year long. So thank you to all of the staff out there, and we appreciate you so much. That's all.
Thank you, Chair Hawkins. My apologies. This is new to me too. So, okay. So now we will move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. As a reminder, the public comments will pertain to the agenda this evening, or at least the ones you're about to hear. We will have both in-person and electronic comments, and we will not alternate between the two tonight because we have a total of 4, 2 online, 1 in person, and another that was anonymous. The anonymous public comment submission related to this evening's agenda, but per board policy and the public comment guidelines adopted by the board, online submissions should include the required information. So in accordance with this policy, the anonymous comment will not be read aloud. However, all board members were provided a copy of the submitted comment to review in advance of this meeting. So as a reminder, the public comment is a time for board members to hear from the community. We will not be responding to your comments this evening, but please know we are listening and often taking notes so we can look into your comments further once our meeting has adjourned. And so with that, I will welcome our only in-person comment, and that is Nicole Rudowski.
Not as tall as Emery. Are we ready? All right, well, good evening, Dr. Lyon, Board Chair Hawkins, and the school board members. I'm Nicole Bertosky. I'm a Sherwood resident here, and I am in my 14th and final year as the parent of students in the Sherwood School District. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of moving forward with the levy this spring. Without it, we are asking our students to pay the price for a broken system at the state level. My 2 boys both received an excellent education here in Sherwood, but their experience goes far beyond the classroom. They both participated in Lego robotics and chess club at the elementary level. One played saxophone and the other played trombone and tuba in the middle school. My oldest spent 4 years participating in teen court and forensic science classes, where they got to recreate and solve crime scenes. He is currently, he's a 2019 graduate. He was one of the valedictorians, and he is now a criminal justice major and hoping to work in a forensics lab someday soon. My current senior, he loved taking foods, welding, woods, video production, photography, but his passion is band. So he spent 4 years in the marching band. He was part of the world champion winter percussion ensemble last year. He plans to spend his summers marching with a world-class competition team this summer before heading to University of Oregon and marching with their marching band in the fall. And his career plans involve production and photography work. So both of my boys' post-high school plans were directly influenced by experiences that they had gained outside of the typical classrooms. All of these activities are either led or coached by staff members, or they have staff advisors that open up their classrooms early or stay late to allow kids to continue their education outside of normal school hours. Did you know that our AP government teacher just last night hosted a State of the Union watch party potluck, and 30 students attended it? So we've all seen the cuts we face without a levy, and I cannot imagine the impact that will have on teachers' classroom sizes and how they will manage to spread their time so much thinner across so many more students. And so now think of asking these teachers to continue to come in early for chess club or stay late or give up their weekends for Lego robotics. At the upper level, we could lose capacity for electives because when something has to give, you can't cut core classes. So we've seen music, art, CTE cut in other districts around us, and we would be facing those same decisions. So without a levy headed into the fall, the impact to our classrooms will be massive. But I believe that the ripple effect will be much wider than we anticipate. So the levy allows us to invest our hard-earned dollars into our own kids in our district. And these dollars should absolutely be focused on enhancing the educational experience of our students in the classroom. But protecting that experience allows for all the other things that make Sherwood so special. So as the mom of a senior who will stick around and pay taxes, I ask you to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to our first of two online comments.
Kevin Moore, Sherwood. The previous Sherwood School District administration made a $2 million mistake. However, the deficit was created. The taxpayers were asked to bail the district out. Not as that only bad policy, but it comes at a time of record high inflation, high interest rates, and the specter of an economic recession this year. I've been a resident of Sherwood for over 30 years. Too many times over those years, the school district whined for more money. Now, almost 60% of my property tax bill is now funding Sherwood schools, most of which is paying off the bond measure for the construction of the huge unnecessary high school. Statistics listed on the Sherwood School District website shows a drop in overall school enrollment from 2017-18 to the 21-22 school years of 419 students. The major drop coming from the elementary schools, which is an indicator of the demographics in Sherwood. Young families cannot afford to move to Sherwood, so unless there is a significant number of move-ins, the trend will likely continue. As also indicated on the district website, elementary school class sizes are at or below state averages. That is unlikely to change given the drop in school enrollment. Studies show that parental involvement in the home has more impact on student performance than class size. Hard decisions need to be made. If family revenue drops, they make cuts. So do private employers. Neither has the option to tax residents of the community to make up differences. Sherwood schools must live within its means. Sherwood spending per student is over $11,000. To compare that with Utah, which ranks 50th in spending per student, its national ranking of quality of schools consistently is in the top 15 or 10, depending on the survey. Oregon's ranking is much lower, somewhere between 35 to 45.
Thank you. And now our second online comment.
Board of Directors and Chair Hawkins, my name is Kathy Farron. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Archer Glen Elementary. My husband, Clark Farron, teaches engineering and architecture at Sherwood High School. Our family has lived in Sherwood for over 10 years, and we have 3 children in the district in 4th, 6th, and 8th grade. We love Sherwood and are proud to be a part of this community. We're writing today to express our strong support of the board moving forward with the local option levy in Sherwood. While the levy will certainly help with current funding issues, having one in place is long overdue. Nearly all surrounding districts have a local option levy in place to supplement the state and federal funding that they receive. Due to Sherwood's unique socioeconomic demographic, we receive much less of that state and federal funding, which puts us at an additional disadvantage and makes a local option levy even more instrumental in stabilizing district funding moving forward. In addition to ensuring programs thrive and class sizes stay reasonable, quite frankly, the levy is needed to recruit and retain quality educators within the Sherwood School District. With your decision tonight to place a local option levy on the May ballot, you'll see Clark and I as teachers, parents, and residents of Sherwood actively supporting the levy campaign effort in the coming months. I know we're not alone in our interest in continuing to live in a community that values and supports education. Thank you for your time and consideration. Kathy and Clark Farron.
Thank you so much. So that then concludes our public comment section for items pertaining to tonight's agenda. I would now like to invite Jim Rose to the podium for a 2023 legislative update.
Thank you, Vice Chair Thorne, Superintendent Lyon, members of the board. Let me start by saying I attended youth and government in like the 40th year it was in existence, so it's been a while. But seriously, some of the best memories I have of high school were that program. And so I'm so thrilled to see not only my daughter, but all the other kids that are taking part in that. So I had to put in that little plug there. And it's related to legislature, so I feel I can get away with it. So our legislature started on January 17th with roughly a third of their membership being new, which is, I think, a historic record turnover for that body of legislators, which with that comes a lot of folks that are learning their way, not only just through the building, but through the process. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the coming months. As you've previously heard, the Department of Administrative Services had put forth a K-12 current service level of $9.52 billion. You probably saw in the last week that the governor's budget has been released and set that proposed K-12 budget at $9.9 billion. And the sense I get from some of our statewide kind of education leaders is a bit of optimism that we're going to see that number rise throughout the legislative session. And while 9.9 is great, it is not anywhere near what we and our fellow districts around the state need to really actually meet our current service level. In fact, OSBA puts that number at about 10.3 billion. Part of that enthusiasm that I think we're seeing from our colleagues across the state is actually the education team that the governor has put together, including one of our former administrators from here in Sherwood, which is kind of nice to see. Another local connection we now have is that Representative Neron has been named the education committee chair. And as many of you know, she's been very supportive of initiatives here within our community, including supporting the pedestrian bridge that the city of Sherwood is building. Really, we see about 4 goals for the legislative session. Budget obviously being one, and ensuring stable and adequate funding for kind of core student services. We see quite a bit around leadership and workforce, and so promoting stability and collaborative governance among K-12 leaders and to address our workforce needs. There's quite a bit of effort on student success and voice, and promoting student voice and leadership in the policymaking process. So again, calling on our youth and government students to help lead the way in that. And then I think there's also going to be quite a bit of emphasis on our operations and facilities, and looking at ways, particularly for those districts that were not as fortunate as to pass local bond, that they might get some additional funding to help keep their buildings up to date and the best places we can for kids. So far, there have been over 2,000 bills that have been introduced. More than 400 of those are related to education. Most of these will go nowhere throughout the legislative session. But those that do, our statewide partners do a really good job of monitoring those for us and tracking them through the process. You can expect to see bills on special education, shorter school days, substitute contracting, charter school caps, things like high school graduation requirements. And one that's close to my heart is pest management. So another area of particular interest to myself, and probably Brady Stretz here in the second row, is there's going to be quite a bit of emphasis on cybersecurity and improved state infrastructure, education awareness, and those kinds of things around that particular topic. So we have a few key dates looking forward to. February 21st is the deadline for new measures to be introduced. The 22nd is expected the next revenue forecast from the state. And then after February 22nd, we will get the co-chair's budget, which is kind of that, usually that next step in seeing the state school fund number rise. And then the final revenue forecast will be May 17th. And so it's really likely that until that date arrives, we will not know what the final number is with state budgets. So any questions?
If I may, Madam Chair, I'd like to just share some additional information I think is relevant here, if that's all right. House Bill 2739 is a bill that the House Education Committee has already begun to weigh in on, but maybe something that we may want to take a look at in terms of something to support. This would change the current service level calculation to force a better conversation about what do current labor rates look like as in go forward, instead of a 10-year look back, which is not particularly relevant, particularly now. Does a better job of taking into account things that other agencies get a look at, which is what our PERS rate is going to be, what our actual costs. We get historic numbers, which isn't a very accurate measure, which is why higher ed's current service level was almost 8%, and ours was sitting at 2.5. And so in order to put K-12 education on a better footing and a more stable footing, to have that conversation about what do those current costs actually look like, instead of starting at a number that is low, that then, the kind of continual joke about K-12 education advocacy is, well, that's great, but it's just a starting point. The goal is to actually start with a number that actually meets needs, and then be able to move forward and really look at how do you get to a better number. Because what happens today is we get as Jim has explained multiple times, 49% in the first year of the biennium and 51% of the state school fund allocation in the second year of the biennium. And then when the state does CSL, they assume that we only got 50% in each year. So we start at a number that isn't real. But that's, I think, a huge priority coming out of the House Education Committee, and one that may be worthy of our raising again, as we've had the conversation here. We've got to have a number that's realistic coming from Salem, not a fake number that's just gerrymandered to like fit into the budget. I do think the other thing that's likely to be discussed at length this session is literacy, and a pretty big investment in additional literacy dollars. The conversation when the Northwest Regional ESD hosted a conversation among legislators and school board members this last weekend that I was pleased to attend, was about those dollars need to be additive, not a further slicing up of the pie. That we have plenty of that going on where we're handed dollars, but they supplant other resources that we used to get, and our ability to meet our general obligations is harder. So new initiatives are great with additional dollars. So I think that was a pretty big go away message for most legislators coming out of that conversation, and hopeful that that will hold as there is, I think, serious work to try and get to a K-12 number that is north of 9.9 billion. But for this community, still very far away from meeting our needs as we look towards next school year, and what we need to maintain the quality of education we've got in Sherwood.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Next up, we will welcome Dr. Lyon. He will be providing a YSAT update.
All right, and I think I'm going to do the YSAT update here because it's quick, and then I'll go up there to do the next agenda item. The YSAT governing board, of which Director Lee is a member of that governing board, we met to review the governing document, and I wanted to give you a quick update on that. YSAT is a diversion program. Next slide. It's part of the really important umbrella of services to intervene with families and students who are affected or impacted by substance abuse. And it's a multi-agency partnership. And there is this intergovernmental agreement that was woefully outdated. And that's what we worked on. The IGA is between the school district, the Sherwood Police Department, the city of Sherwood, and Washington County Juvenile Department. Next slide. The goals are still as relevant today as they were when the IGA was signed in 2014. Really streamlined to take care of kids in need and to provide a pathway for them to rehabilitate, get some preventative education, and get back on track. Next slide. So we looked at the IGA, and here are the changes that we are recommending. Next slide. So the governing board was called to meet 4 times a year. That was not happening. We're going to propose meeting annually. The meetings prior had been ideally intended to be organized and facilitated by the city. Makes much more sense for the school district to do that job because the YSAT, the team, is up at the high school. And then we're just simply updating the dates of the agreement in the primary context. And last slide is, at the same time that the governing board is doing this work, the team at the high school is really doing the heavy lift, and that is to look at the program description and revise it to address some weaknesses and some issues that needed to be looked at and updated to some current practices. So we're going to get those changes in the program description. And in June, the YSAT governing board will review the recommendations and then approve them. And we'll have a functional IGA in effect going into the 23-24 school year. Any questions or comments?
Is the board going to reach out to the community, or is there any like avenue process for people that have been part of the YSAT program, whether it's a student or a parent, to provide feedback on their experience in that program, so that you guys can use that information in your meetings going forward and revising it?
I'm going to turn to my left and ask one of our YSAT team members, Marlene Carroll, to answer that.
Although we're just in the beginning phases of kind of redesigning what the continuum of care looks like for YSAT, part of the feedback that we did get from the staff and the team is that doing some sort of like empathy interview with families or, people who are interested in giving us their feedback so we can include that in the redesign. Specifically looking for like, what do students need that would actually improve outcomes for them.
So students that have been through the program or are currently in the program would
Correct.
be able to give that
Yeah.
feedback.
And parents too.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to exclude parents from that. In fact, we always want to include parents in that. Yeah. Mhm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Lyon. And thank you for the update. On February 1st, the school board requested the executive team draft a resolution to approve a 5-year local option levy. Dr. Lyon will be presenting this resolution this evening for the board's consideration.
Okie dokie, here we go. Waiting on Christine. I've got a very brief review of the education levy. All right. So when I met with those students today at the high school, there was the question of, what do you do? What do you do as superintendent of the school? And my answer was pretty simple. I said, I get to work on a team of citizens and very talented administrators who collectively work for you, the student, who collectively are your voice in creating an educational system and program in your community that creates these incredible pathways and doors to be opened and opportunities that allow you to be part of this great society in this great country. And I believe that, and that's why we're here, and it's what we do, and it's who we are. And so as we move forward in discussing an education levy, I carry with me the faces of our students, the Leahs and the elementary students and the amazing middle schoolers that we have and our high school kids. Just really, really an amazing group, an amazing generation. And that's why we're here. We are their voice. So the education levy is put forth for a number of reasons. The most important one is that first bullet point, the long-term inadequate funding from Salem. It has gotten better. There's never enough money. We have to live within our means, but by every measure, and one of them being what's defined as a quality education model, we have received inadequate funding from Salem for years and years and years. And that battle continues to this day. We did lose enrollment from the pandemic, and part of this discussion, public forums, conversations with community members, conversations with staff, is absolutely the necessary adjustment of this school district to recognize and adjust our budgets to realize that we are down 400 students. And it's going to take a while before we grow again, and we will, and they will be back. It will take time. But for now, we do need, as that citizen comment noted, we need to adjust and do the things necessary for addressing that enrollment loss. And then we had the very, very unfortunate situation of budgets that were adopted that included overestimation of revenues. And that occurred for 2 years, and it just took those 2 years to do some damage to this school district. And we are sorry about that. It was not done by any members of this board. It wasn't certainly done by our new CFO, but we take full responsibility for that. And absolutely, it's the role of the school superintendent to ensure that that does not happen. And part of this is to make every move necessary that it does not happen again. And that's part of this conversation for the need and purpose of an education levy. One of the elements of this is we want an absolute ironclad assurance that if this levy were to pass, it would be used for what it was intended to be used for. And this is the quote out of the resolution that you'll hear later. It will be put into a sub-account, which our budget committee and our school board will monitor meticulously to verify that the funds are used as approved by voters for staffing, and no levy funds will be spent on administration. As part of that compact we're making with our community in pursuing this, there are 2 words that are very important, and I'd like to add a 3rd word. We have talked a lot about accountability measures, and we're working on that. We are revamping our fiscal department. We are coming up with more ways to monitor the budget. We are revamping the way we look at our audits. So we are putting back in some of those guardrails that were taken down over the last 2 years in our fiscal department, and that accountability measure could never be higher. The second one is the transparency. Everything we do, whether it's this levy, our budget this spring, our school district, everything is transparent. We are available to show you the documents, show you the budgets, and we're putting as much of those documents up on our website as possible. And we know the website's not enough. We're trying to hold public forums. We're trying to present some of that information, meeting people where they are, and that's important. And the third part that we really haven't talked about publicly too much, but is so necessary, and it is part of this year, is the accessibility part. I am addicted to coffee. I will have coffee with anyone. So we're really serious about these ideas of public forums, meeting at coffee shops, talking at libraries, going to faith-based organizations, meeting with the chamber, attending city council meetings. We know that we have to be accessible. And that is something that we have heard loud and clear in the course of this fall, is that it is an expectation that we are accessible to answer questions and help people understand this extraordinary school district that we operate. So those 3 pieces, the accountability, the transparency, and the accessibility, are a very big part of this education levy story. You were really presented with a number of options, and board members, you did a very good job of listening to the community and getting feedback. And it's not a matter of consensus on this in our community. we looked at different levy amounts. We looked at $1.25, $1.50, and $1.75, and they do different things. Our CFO brought to you the number required to maintain the services that we have. And that maintenance number is accommodating of the adjustment downwards of our enrollment minus 400 students. I want to make that clear. The maintenance number is accommodating the 400 loss of students. And our maintenance number of 6.5 million as our projected shortfall next year brings us right in at $1.50 per thousand. That is the number necessary, the dollar amount to maintain. There were many community members that said, well, if we're going to do this, let's go for the amount that allows us to do some things. We want to do those things, but the citizen comment was right on the money. Inflation is very, very daunting to all of us. And we feel, given the road that we've been down, that we want to only ask the citizens of Sherwood for the amount that allows us to continue to maintain the level of services that we currently have, get our financial ship straightened up, and then move forward. And that $1.50 per 1,000 will allow us to do that. This is that slide you've seen before of our surrounding districts and comparison districts and what they have with the local option levy. We are the only district in our area that matches our socioeconomic profile and our student achievement that does not have a local option levy. Westland, Wilsonville, Lake Oswego, Beaverton, Tiger, Tualatin, all have local option levies at different amount, and we do not. And we do have lower per student funding than those districts. The other part of this story is what happens without the levy. And we are going down that road as well because we have to. We are going to have those cuts identified and made public by March 22. We need to do that in order to notify the impacted employees that have rights according to their associations. And this is what we're working on right now, is what those layoffs look like. Significant layoffs to teachers, large class sizes at every grade, reduced district support for extracurricular activities, potential shorter school year, loss of competitive programs, and a community talent drain impact, not only within the district of talented people, but also with parents and community members who are negatively impacted by the loss of funding and decide to go elsewhere. So the recommendation this evening from the district administration is for the board to adopt the attached resolution to submit to the electors of the district the question of a 5-year local option levy. With that, we have the resolution, and normally we don't read these verbatim, but I think this is such an important matter that I am going to read the resolution as stated so the board can act on it with full public knowledge of what the resolution says. So please bear with me. Whereas the Board of Directors recognizes that strong public schools are the function of a great city, supporting families, building community, and strengthening the local economy. And whereas supporting the staffing levels and program operations of the Sherwood School District is essential to successful student outcomes. And whereas the Sherwood School District experienced a budget deficit within the 22-23 school year, resulting in the depletion of ending fund balance reserves and approximately 2.2 million in budget reductions. And whereas the Sherwood School District has repeatedly experienced state funding shortfalls, and whereas depending on the Oregon legislature's final state school fund allocation, the Sherwood School District faces additional reductions in the 23-24 school year of approximately $6.5 to $7 million, which is the equivalent of the elimination of over 50 staff positions and the addition of furlough days to the academic calendar. And whereas a local option levy could generate an estimated $6.5 to $7.5 million for 5 years, and the amount raised may be different than estimated and will depend on changes to assessed and real market value of each property within the school district. This levy will maintain critical staffing and programs within the district while establishing a more stable funding position and rebuilding the district's ending fund balance reserves. And whereas a local option levy will provide needed funding over a 5-year period to ensure students receive the education they need to be prepared for colleges and careers. And whereas annual audits with public reports, regular financial reporting to the board, and community budget committee oversight will be conducted to ensure levy funds are spent as the voters intended. And whereas the district will establish a specific fund for levy collections to allow for detailed accounting and transparency. And whereas all funds raised under this proposed levy will be used exclusively for Sherwood students in the Sherwood School District, and none of the funds will go to the state for distribution under the state school funding formula. And be it resolved that a local levy election is hereby called for the purpose of submitting to the electors of the Sherwood School District the question of a 5-year local option levy beginning 2023 in the amount of $1.50 per 1,000 assessed property value. Be it further resolved that the measure election hereby called shall be held in the district on May 16th, 2023, in the manner and between the hours provided by law, at which there shall be submitted to the electors of school district number 88J, the measure approved by the board. And finally, be it further resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sherwood School District hereby authorizes the superintendent or his designee, the authorized representative, to take any actions necessary to place the measure on the May 16, 2023 election ballot and to place the necessary explanatory statement within the voter's pamphlet for that election. The superintendent or his designee shall complete all necessary actions to file the measure with the appropriate election officers no later than February 24, 2023. And with that, I conclude the resolution and am here for any questions, but turn it over back to Director Thorne.
Thank you, Dr. Lyon. Questions, discussion? Comments? No discussion? No comments? Chair Hawkins, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yes, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. I'm not used to zooming in. I've spent a lot of time in conversations and in meetings, and it feels like months now, looking at our financial situation and how we plan on moving forward. And I feel really good about this resolution that you guys have brought forward to us. I feel like it is the right dollar amount. Like you, I heard from many people who said, let's do more, let's give more. But I also heard from people who said funding is really tight. And, I think it's important, again, that we highlight that we need to make adjustments for those students who are no longer with us and may not be back with us for a period of time. And I know in our conversations, we have addressed that and we'll continue to address that. But I appreciate that this dollar amount brings us to the level that our community has come to expect of our education system. And I would just really encourage people to reflect on the value of the education system that we have here in the Sherwood School District and what value that has to them and their grandkids and our entire community as they think about how they might want to vote should this move forward after this evening.
Thank you, Director Carmen.
Okay, I did write some stuff down. It's a whole sheet, so bear with me here. Okay. The Sherwood School District, like all school districts, has seen their share of unforeseen anomalies and stresses over the last few years, with COVID, online learning, loss of students, and lack of state funding. However, what separates Sherwood from other high-performing school districts that surround our community is the lack of an education levy. With an education levy, we are able to ensure every taxpayer dollar stays in Sherwood and is used for our kids. Sherwood has never utilized this funding tool, and it has been recommended by our professional consultants, and frankly, it's overdue. The decision of implementing an education levy is one that I don't take lightly. It is important that we choose a levy rate that is appropriate and in line with our district's goals, while weighing the effects it has on our community's personal finances. Likewise, it is also the duty of this board to seek any and all solutions in rectifying hardships, financial or otherwise. It is our duty to bring this option to the voters of Sherwood. This community is craving predictability and stability. I can't think of no better gift than the gift of predictable financial stability. An education levy provides that. It is time to get back to the business of teaching and learning. Our staff shouldn't have to worry from year to year if their job will be cut due to lack of state funding. Our students and parents shouldn't have to worry if teachers will leave due to lack of state funding or be lured away by more financially stable surrounding districts that utilize a local option levy. Our entire community shouldn't have to worry about declining home values because our school district isn't seen as desirable anymore. When schools do well, we all do well. Sherwood is a special community, as I can personally attest to. My dad is a graduate of Sherwood, class of 1969, and my parents moved back to Sherwood in 1983 when there were roughly 2,500 people here. And the running joke was there was more cows than people, and that is not true anymore. I attended kindergarten through 12th grade and have seen firsthand the growth this community has experienced since then. Up until 1995, Sherwood had one elementary school, one middle school, known as the intermediate school, not sure why, and one high school. Archer Glen was the second elementary school built for Sherwood, and from there, the town has seen rapid growth. I remember Woodhaven and High Point being built in the late 90s along with the YMCA. Before that, they were fields with old farmhouses on them and a narrow country road known as Sunset Boulevard. Sherwood is special because it still retains that small town feel, and the traditions of that one small community have been passed down. Families come to Sherwood because of that reputation and the success of growing this town and its schools over the last 25 plus years. We as a community are reaping the benefits of over 25 years worth of work, effort, and sacrifice that has come before us from previous and current citizens, parents, administrators, and school boards who had a vision to make this school district exceptional. With that work came updating existing facilities, building brand new state-of-the-art schools and athletic facilities, maintaining low class sizes, investing in new technology and curriculum, implementing CTE and STEM programs, launching the pre-K early learning program, and numerous other achievements. These advancements in the district happen because of community support and shared goals that ensure all our students succeed when the call arises. So just as if we have done before, let us all come together as a united front and deliver the gift of stability and exceptional education for all the kids in Sherwood. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Director Lee.
Yes. So mine won't be nearly as eloquent as that in my comments. But I do want to share, I think, some of the trepidation that I've heard. I've been listening to the community. I've read all the emails that have been provided, listened to and I just as recent as last night, I was having conversations about the levy. And so I do want to acknowledge the trepidation about the levy. I myself have my own concerns, and the loss of the students that, as I've noted in the last work session, the worry and the concerns about a commitment of 5 years of taxes, given the economy, and really considering there were several messages of those who are on very limited budgets, and this is no easy concern. This is not an easy decision for me. I have weighed that against the positives of this, and the students, the potential impact on the students, and I don't think it's just a per student in the classroom problem. There are students that
or we can call in the gray area that maybe are receiving services that might not be available, that are attending and get to play sports that might be cut, or activities that might be cut, the youth activities that might be cut. These are things that provide the essence of the education and the backdrop of the education for our students that I worry about. I also weighed that there's already been cuts, and there's already been a lot of work by this administration to do so with a very close attention to what was going on and how to make this as responsible as possible. And I think having spoken to Dr. Lyon and the administration, I think their work in doing this, I have the utmost trust in them and how that they will address this moving forward. I have heard their commitment to righting the ship. I have heard their commitment on addressing the loss of the students. And I wanted to point out that the loss of the students happened not under their watch. This happened before they were on board, but they've taken responsibility of that. And I think that demonstrates the character and the leadership that we are experiencing and that we need in this community and we are benefiting from. I think that for me, I certainly am in favor of putting this forward for the voters to make the decision, that it's their vote. But I personally am in favor of, because of the administration, because of what's been going on, and because of what the school has provided, and I will leave it at that.
There you go. Okay, all right. So, as a board, we did ask for feedback from the community on this matter. And I can say with confidence that the overwhelming majority of the feedback that I received has not only been in favor of the levy, but surprisingly to me was actually in favor for a higher amount than what has been proposed here tonight. I was really shocked by that. And then I was heartwarmed at the graciousness and the generosity of the community and how much they do want to invest in our students and our schools. So, as an elected official, my role is to represent the community members that our constituents wants and desires for this district, while also acting in the best interest of this district. It's really great when those two things align. And I can say with confidence that this is one of those situations. I agree that the timing is not ideal. Times are really hard right now. Decisions are being made on behalf of the citizens of not only Oregon, but the entire United States as a whole, that are severely impacting all of us, myself included. I see that not as a reason to not support this levy, but even more of a reason to support it. For the reasons of maintaining control of a fraction of the taxes that I pay by investing in the very students that will be making the decisions on our behalf in the future, because hopefully they'll be much better ones. That's it. Director Adamson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This has been a journey for us to get to this moment. And I am just, as we sit here tonight and we think about everything we've had to do to this moment to make this school year possible, to make it possible for our kids to have as normal a year as possible. I'm sitting here and I see a lot of partners who helped make that happen. I'm thinking about Staff Appreciation Week, and that we have asked our staff to take 3 furlough days this year, which is money that they had not budgeted not to receive, but they are making that sacrifice for our kids. And how grateful I am that our teams were willing to do that, that we were able to make tough decisions for this year. And then thinking about the magnitude of what we face heading into yet the next year. The uncertainty from Salem with an education number that we won't know until we have got to like close out the budget process. The uncertainty of the potential loss of 50 teachers, additional furlough days, additional cuts. None of which in a world in which our kids have just begun to experience school as it was meant to be, that I feel comfortable as a board member making that decision without asking this question of voters. The thing I love about this community is that we have always rallied around how can we fix our problem. I think we know that we live in a community and we live in a state where we've got a fundamentally unfair process. And for those of you that were able to come to the community forum, you heard me talk at length about the unfairness of our property tax system. That it is not fair that Sherwood residents are paying a lot in property taxes to go to the state school fund to not get those dollars back while we're subsidizing other districts. That's not fair. It's not fair that we get fewer dollars back for our kids. It's just not fair. And what I also know about Sherwoodians is that we don't spend a whole lot of time crying over spilled milk. We ask, how do we get that milk bottle refilled? Because kids need that milk. We have got to move forward. We can be real frustrated by the system, but how do we make sure our kids get the kind of quality education? How do we make that investment in our community and in ourselves? And we can do that. This levy can do that. Our surrounding high performing districts got to this place before we did, but they made that investment in their communities and it has kept their property taxes high, or property values high, excuse me. It has kept their communities whole. It has allowed them to grow and do amazing things in those districts to give those students opportunities they would not otherwise have. And we can do that here. That's what this measure will do. It will make it possible for us to maintain the incredible programs that exist in this district, the incredible services that have literally saved lives in this district. Will make it possible for our community to remain the great place it is to live and raise kids, and a place that attracts others to want to be here. It's true. This measure comes at a time for families when it's hard. We all know people who have faced salary cuts. They face job cuts. They're seniors that are struggling. All of that's very real. And I think that's why, as this board has really wrestled with this, we've looked at what's the outcome of doing nothing. That's not acceptable. What's the number that allows us to maintain, that fixes the problem without asking any more of our citizens? And that's what's in front of us tonight. I'm really grateful for my fellow board members and for the work and the questions, for the citizens of Sherwood who have told us what they think. And we've heard from folks that have questions, that have concerns, but we've heard from a lot more, including 257 that within a week signed a petition asking us to send this levy out. That's more than I've ever seen as we've asked for feedback during my time on the board. So I recognize this is not the solution everyone wants, but it is a solution that Sherwood needs. And so I am going to be voting yes this evening because we have to do this for Sherwood kids. And I hope that Sherwood residents will recognize this as an opportunity for us to take our own destiny into our own hands and do the right thing. And I hope they'll vote yes. And I look forward to the conversation that's going to come I'm gonna go ahead and read the final bit of the resolution again, in recognition of kind of the importance of this vote. So Madam Chair, I move that a levy election is hereby called for the purpose of submitting to the electors of the Sherwood School District the question of a 5-year local option levy beginning in 2023 in the amount of $150 per 1,000 of assessed value. Be it further resolved that the measure election hereby called shall be held in the district on May 16th, 2023, in the manner and in between the hours provided by law, at which there shall be submitted to the electors of the Sherwood School District number 80HA, the measure approved by the board. And finally, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Sherwood School District hereby authorize the superintendent or his designee to take any actions necessary to place the measure on the May 16th, 2023 election ballot and to place the necessary explanatory statement within the voters pamphlet for that election. The superintendent or his designee, the authorized representative, shall complete all necessary actions to file the measure with the appropriate elections officers no later than February 24th, 2023.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Not it. Next up, Mrs. Carroll will provide a first read of the integrated guidance application. Mrs. Carroll.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Thorne, Director Hawkins on Zoom, and board members. Last month, we shared with you where we were on the integrated guidance application thus far. And as a reminder, that's our 6 grant programs combined into one. And it was to streamline the process for Oregon schools, as well as kind of reduce some of the redundancies in the application process. So one of the requirements from the Oregon Department of Ed is to present the application, the plan, and the budget, which is in your board packet, to the school board, as well as have it available for public comment. In addition, we'll have it posted to the website and the teaching learning page, and it will be available in the district office front office. Some of the important items to note is that as we are continuing to look at budget, there may be some adjustments to the actual budget document there, because final allocations for the state, as you've heard in the updates tonight, they just haven't been released yet. So those might change a little bit. But we've kind of prepared for this there's a tab on there that has a tiered planning system. So we have things that we can reduce or things that we can add to that budget and that plan. In addition, we'll also be reviewing all the feedback that we get from the community, and we can adjust our plan accordingly, as well as our application. So the application that you see is actually just a template. The actual application is not due until the end of March. So we have some time that we can make those adjustments if needed. And then once our application is submitted, there's a whole nother process, and that's looking around growth targets for the district, which we actually co-develop with ODE, and we will be bringing those back to you for approval in the spring. So with that said, tonight, I bring you the initial integrated application plan and budget for first read and review.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. So lastly, the board is responding to an appeal of an administrative decision as presented in executive session under ORS 192.660. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to deny the request for a hearing on the matter of the received complaint and uphold the superintendent's level 3 complaint response.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. So at this time, we would normally be hearing other public comments submitted that were not agenda related, but we don't have any. So this will conclude our board meeting for tonight. The next meeting will be held on March 8th. We hope you're able to join us, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Bye, Abby.
Thank you, Abby.
Bye, guys. Thank you.